What's up? You are living so fucking foul, man. What the fuck? Oh, anyway, how's your dog doing, man?
He's doing fine, as always.
Is he acting like a little
bastard.
Is he acting like a little bitch, giving you a hard time and shit? You guys should have heard George bickering to me about his dog, because this dog is seriously like his child, everybody.
Pretty much.
And sometimes he can drive you fucking crazy.
Yes.
Anyway, I don't know if you had a chance to see the knockout card, but that's what I'm going to label this shit.
I'm trying to remember what I was doing Wednesday night when that shit was going on. I'm pretty sure I was at the gym and I meant to DVR it, and unfortunately I didn't, because I knew I was telling the one dude at work that the main fight was going to be a fight in a phone booth, and it was. I mean, fucking Donald Cerrone, since coming out and talking about I'm broke, has done nothing but just lay cats out. I hope he does this all the way to a title run. I mean, I hope out of this he gets a title shot.
We touched on it a while back, and just saying that, he had blown all his money. He was like, you know what, I got to recoup. I'm coming out to fight. And you know what, maybe Donald Cerrone needs to go out and blow more money, because let me tell you something, this guy has gone through everybody as of late, but ever since he's been in that financial situation, he's like, you know what, I need to fucking put some paper in my pockets.
He's fighting hungry.
He's fighting hungry. That's what happens when you're hungry. Sometimes you get on top, you lose it, but it wasn't just him on this card, man. I mean, the undercard.
Everybody was getting knocked out. They were getting 3 pieces, 4 pieces, biscuits, side orders.
It was the knockout card. Every on the preliminary card, on Fox Sports 1, everybody got knocked out except it was a decision in the lightweight fight between Gleason Tibau and Pat Healy.
I tell you what, we rag on the fight thing where they want us to pay money. I would almost do the free 30 days just to see this fight card if they're going to replay it.
Yeah, that would in itself would be worth it, because I mean, that was the preliminary card, all those knockouts. Then on the main card, you had, in the featherweight fight, Lucas Martin, he knocked out Alex White. John Lineker TKO'd his opponent. Fucking Joe Proctor TKO'd Justin Salas. The Rick Story was the only person that ended a fight via submission. And then obviously and then Edson Barbosa knocked out Evan Dunham, which looked good for him. That was a great victory for him. And obviously the big thing was Donald Cerrone knocking out Jim Miller.
Twice in one round.
Miller, yeah, I mean, and we've talked about it. Jim Miller basically
that's a tough
beats
dude
everybody
to finish.
Except you. Yeah, and he finished him. So that says a lot for Donald Cerrone. So we're gonna. I mean, do we want to talk anything else about this? I mean,
it's over.
Not really.
I mean, all we can do is talk about how hopefully Donald Cerrone keeps us on a roll and parlay this into a title fight. I mean, he's at 55 or 45.
Who, Cerrone?
Yeah, he's at 55, isn't he? Because he's tall.
He's at 55. Yeah, he hasn't made. I don't think
Pettis still has the belt at 55, right?
Yep.
And he hadn't fought because he's hurt. So. I think I don't know. That would be. Didn't they meet once in WEC?
They did, and Pettis won, I believe. I can't remember how that went down. Let me check that real quick while you talk to all of our friends.
Well, see, I was getting ready to do that while you talked to all of them, because I mean, Donald Cerrone. I mean, a lot of these lightweight guys have come up through the WEC because the UFC didn't have the 135 and the 145s. These are fairly new classes that they've added. And Donald Cerrone was over there, like Edson, Henan Barao, Anthony Pettis, Pootie Tang. They were all over there, and that's where they did.
He lost Pettis TKO'd him.
Right, and that was in the UFC. That was even so he's lost to Nate. I'm just trying to go back and look at who Cerrone's lost to. He's lost
to Rafael Dos Anjos,
Benson
in
Henderson
UFC.
twice. Benson Henderson twice in the WEC. I was trying to see if he saw Pettis in the WEC. He didn't. So he's lost to Pootie Tang twice in the WEC. I think he could beat Benson Henderson right now.
Benson Henderson just, he's just. I mean, he hasn't do. It's all as much as I like Benson Henderson. Right when he was holding the title, I kind of felt like he was almost like the GSP of the lightweight class. Like, he was winning, he's impressive, he's athletic as shit, just like GSP was. And as much as I like him, I just felt like he wasn't finishing fights again.
Right.
And it's a style of fighting, just like GSP's style of fighting. But after a while, as much as you like a champion or if you gravitate to some of these fighters, you and I both know when they start having boring fights, you just are like, okay, I'm done with this shit. You know,
Right.
You want to see fights. People pay to see fights get finished. You know, like this last card that happened this past Wednesday,
And no one even had to pay for that. Shit was free 99.
Yep. Exactly. Now, we're going to skip over the next fight because it's Fight Pass, and George and I have refused to talk about any of those fights. First of all, because they're terrible anyway, most of the cards. I mean, I hate to say it. And I don't care. I don't give a shit. Nobody's paying me to say it's fucking great. It's not. It's not. It's fucking not, okay?
Me to say it's great.
You know what I'm saying? If someone wants to pay me to say that the fight passes, let me tell you something. I will be the most Negro promoting motherfucker. I will be like Don King up in this motherfucker talking about Fight Pass. But for right now, it sucks, okay? I don't give a fuck about Fight Pass, and neither does George. So that will bring us to another good event that actually I think George and myself are both looking forward to, and that's Robbie Lawler versus Matt Brown, that fight card.
Yeah, and that's coming up, what'd you say, this Saturday? Yeah.
That's actually coming up this Saturday. It's on the 26th. Obviously you guys will be able to see it on Fox. You know, it'll be on Fox 1 or Fox 2, Fox Sports 2. I don't know. Fox has so many fucking networks nowadays. I can't keep up with the shit. You know, so you just know that it's going to be either on Fox Sports 1 or Fox Sports 2. If you guys don't have that, then you probably want to get
one of the Fox stations is what Kevin's getting at.
Right. Now, I don't think Jorge Masvidal is one person that's kind of got a big name who's fighting in Kyle Kingsbury. They're not fighting each other, but they are two of the bigger names that are fighting on the undercard. Kingsbury's going up against Patrick Cummins, and Jorge Masvidal is going up against Daron Cruickshank. That's about it. I don't have much more to say about that because I think that's kind of uneventful. Not for those guys because they're getting a paycheck.
I was really looking for your insight on Tim Means.
Who?
Tim Means.
Who he's fighting?
No, just him.
George.
I was looking,
See, I know what you're doing.
To you for some insight, maybe some little tidbits. You didn't do your No.
Yeah, I
don't blame you either. I haven't heard of that cat either.
I can't even pronounce the guy's name he's fighting, okay? Which obviously we all know makes us unprofessional, which is the whole pretense and basis of the show. Now, let's move on to the main card where there's names that we can pronounce.
Josh Thomson and Bobby Green.
This is another person that's like kind of like poked his head up in the lightweight class coming over from, Strike Force. And Josh Thomson is obviously has some great fights with Gilbert Melendez. He's done, he's doing well here. He's one of these guys kind of like Jim Miller. He doesn't, he lost to Benson Henderson, but he beat Nate Diaz. He lost to Gilbert Melendez.
He's going to lose this fight. I'm going with Mr. Green.
You're going with Bobby Green?
Yeah, Bobby Green has ripped off 7 wins in a row, and his latest win was against Pat Healy. Granted, it was a UD, but I'm going to go with Body Green.
You are?
Yep.
I'm going to go against you, and I'm going to go with Josh Thomson.
Cool. You're going to owe me a quarter.
You still owe me a quarter from the last fight. Have you forgot that shit?
Then we'll be even.
Okay, we'll be even. Now, that moves us on to a featherweight fight, to a fighter that, as I would always say, has totally redeemed himself, and that's Clay Guida. Because for a while, we were wondering what the fuck happened, because he was just running around and doing crazy shit in the octagon, and we were like, damn, here's a guy that we love to see fight. He comes at you at 120% the whole entire match, and now we're just seeing this fighter that's kind of like fighting not to lose, and obviously you and I both kind of attacked Greg Jackson's camp on that, and now we're kind of backpedaling on it a little bit because I guess we're seeing that, hey, a lot of his fighters are starting to finish fights. So sorry, Greg Jackson, if you're watching this video, which I know you're not, but
well, this will also mark Clay's third fight at featherweight, and he's won 2 and lost 1. His one loss was to Chad Mendez, who I think is arguably the second best featherweight in the world.
Yeah.
Wait, no. Is he? Timeout.
He's a featherweight.
Yeah, but
Clay is fighting a feather.
Huh? Didn't Chad Mendez just win the belt? No.
No. What happened was somebody.
Jose
the featherweight champ is Aldo. It's Jose Aldo, and Mendez was.
Chad Mendez and Aldo were gonna have to fight again, but they pulled out because Aldo got hurt. That's what I'm thinking about. Anyway, I think looking at Clay's 3-fight record at featherweight, he's got his one loss is to Chad Mendez, like I was saying, and I'm easily gonna say that Chad Mendez is the number 2, possibly even might beat Jose Aldo when they face again. But so he beat two
yeah.
cats I've never heard of, and it'd be interesting to see if Clay can keep this roll going. If he's going to come in his last fight, he won Fight of the Night. Like Kevin said, he's very up tempo, very in your face, very chest to chest. I'm going to give you everything I have, and we hadn't seen that for a while. And I think with Dennis Bermudez, he's going. This is not going to be a walk in the park.
Yeah. Why do you say that?
I will tell you why. Because the man is 6-0 in his last 6 fights. So I mean,
that's right. So Dennis the Menace he's been rattling off some fucking wins. Everybody, he's been super Mr. Consistent lately.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at fight of the night, submission of the night, performance of the night in 3 of his last 6 fights. So the guy's
he's getting shit done.
Yeah, so it's going to be Clay's not going to go in here and dominate this guy. This is going to be a war. I expect it to go to the decision, and then I'm going to lean towards Dennis for the win.
Yeah, I mean, God, man, you hate to go against Clay, especially when he's fighting well, because if the guy he's fighting, who's standing across from him, doesn't have a lot of fucking go-go juice.
Yeah,
as Honey Boo Boo Child would say, then they might be in trouble. They might be in trouble, say Honey Boo Boo Child. But I'm gonna go with you, George. I think Dennis the Menace is gonna pull off the upset. Although I don't know who Vegas has as the favorites in this fight. I would have to imagine it's Guida. But George and I want to move to what we find a more interesting bout because of one of the fighters.
Vending Machine Johnson versus...
Right. I mean, at the light heavyweight, and George and I, obviously have a lot of conversation going on before the cameras come on for fear that we might say something that might make everyone hate us. But not really. Anyway, but Anthony... I have to say this, George. Anthony Rumble Johnson is quickly becoming one of my favorite fighters because since he got on the Twinkie train and said, fuck cutting down the ones.
He's going to be on Sesame Street next to Cookie Monster. He's going to be the Twinkie Monster.
He is bloated and blown up. And you know what? Now he's got a head like a Rottweiler. I'll tell you what, Anthony, if you're watching this video, which we know you're not, but if you are, I like you so much better fighting at light heavyweight.
I think he likes himself better fighting at light heavy because he don't have to cut the weight. Now
he doesn't have to cut.
Now let me throw this out there for you before you give your prediction on this. He's going against Little Nog. Little Nog has been finished only once in his entire career. Okay. The last time he was finished was in February of 2007. It has been 7 years since this man has lost been finished. So he's got 5 losses, 1 by knockout, 4 by decision.
So what are you getting at? Are you trying to ask me, is he going to get finished?
Yeah, is the Twinkie Master going to take him out?
He's going to finish him just like he finishes that box of Twinkies, sure. He's going to finish.
I think Anthony Rumble Johnson's going to lay this cat completely the fuck out.
I mean, he knocked out, he has been, he beat Phil Davis, okay, who is a great wrestler. He, great. I mean,
didn't take Johnson down once.
Didn't take Johnson down once. Phil Davis is a good wrestler.
Look, he might have taken him down once. Relax for all you people out there who have the sabermetrics on that. Just it's a figure of speech.
Yes,
calm down. I don't think
taking us literally.
Yeah,
literally.
Calm down.
Mike Kyle, who is he straight dropped Mike Kyle. Mike Kyle. Kyle. Is it Kyle? Pyle. Sorry.
No, it's Kyle.
My
you
bad.
had it right.
I had it right.
You sound like South Park. Kyle.
Mike Kyle. So so he dropped him, right? And then before that, he beat Andre Arlovski.
And now knocked out three guys never heard of.
3 guys he never heard of. He's a completely different fighter. Now a lot of people talked about it, and you look at the analysts over the years said, man, Anthony Rumble Johnson has all this potential, and I'm like, where? Because every time he cut down to 170, right, in the kitchen. I mean, no one can beat this guy in the kitchen. You know what? I would like to battle him, or maybe he should do the hot dog eating contest on the pier, because he can throw down. But anyway, back on subject. So, but when he was cutting down to 170, George, he was struggling, man. Yeah. He lost his power, like George said before.
I think sucking 30, 40 pounds in 2 days just takes a lot more out of you than you go into the ring and you're just exhausted. Your body can't handle that.
Yeah, and and some of these guys are big guys as well when they get down to 170. So I thought, it just killed his strength, it killed his stamina, everything, and he just did not look crisp.
And I think he's going to wear Little Nog out. Those guys, they're very good on the ground. I think their stand-up is not good. Their heads don't move well. Their footwork's not that great. Their hand speed is not there either. I'm not saying it's not going to be a good fight. I'm just thinking if this thing stays standing, it's going to be very one-sided. I just don't, and I understand Little Nog is the smaller one, and he's the boxer. He's the better striker. Just trust me. I don't think he's going to fare well in this fight.
I don't. Now I think I'm gonna go out right now. I'm not even gonna talk. I think Anthony Rumble Johnson's gonna win the fight. And
I think he's gonna win in round 2. I think this fight's gonna get ended in the second round.
Now let me ask you this: if he does win this fight, what does this do for him in the light heavyweight? Because all of a sudden now you've got a guy that's tore off all these victories, 7 victories in a row. They've all been impressive. You know, that means if he wins this fight, and I'm saying if, hypothetically speaking, you fucking clowns, because I know somebody's out there, he didn't win, and they're watching the video after, you know, the shit's over with, and maybe if he loses, right? But if he does, hypothetically, he has now beat 2 of the top guys in the light heavyweight class. Like, I mean, Phil Davis, as many of you guys don't want to agree with me, he still beat Alexander Gustafsson and was a high-ranked light heavy. Little Nog, because he's a Nog, is always going to be a high. I think they're probably fourth.
Let me tell you right now, Anthony Rumble Johnson is currently sitting at 5th. And every guy in front of him, with the exception of one, has lost to John Jones. So, with that said, I think Anthony Twinkie Johnson
would get a shot.
Yeah, well, I mean, put it this way, because here's the way it's lining up. John Jones is going to fight Gustafsson. If John Jones loses, he's going to fight Gustafsson again. If John Jones wins, Gustafsson goes to the back of the line, and unfortunately, he's got a long way to go to get back. Now, if John Jones beats Gustafsson goes to the back of the bus. Daniel Cormier gets an automatic title shot because he's number 2.
Right.
So, if John Jones loses that, you're looking at another fight. If John Jones wins, then you're looking at a third fight. It could potentially be 2 years before Anthony Johnson gets a title shot.
God, man.
Realistically, looking at the way the UFC has gone and the way they continuously do things, you could easily be looking at 2 years before Anthony Johnson could get a title shot.
He just needs to keep dropping cats and making a paycheck.
Exactly.
You know?
And that point you just brought up right there will be brought up after we're done talking about this card, because there's one big signing in the women's division and one potentially big name signing. That's how we'll talk about that. But in front of Anthony Johnson, in the meantime, after he beats up Lil Nog, which I'm completely confident in, and again, look, if you're watching this after the fact, eat my ass.
Is Daniel Cormier.
No, I wouldn't let him. No, Daniel Cormier's already like, fuck this, I'm not fighting again until title shot. So that fight's off. That's fine.
Right.
He's either going to fight Glover or Rashad, is who is in front of him. Now the 2 guys behind him are Phil Davis and Dan Henderson. He's got no reason to fight either one of them. And then you got Shogun behind him. No reason to fight him.
It is just so much bullshit. I mean, I know everybody wants to see Gustafsson get another shot at John Jones or whatever.
The light heavyweight class, with the exception of 3 guys, is old, dude. It is real old.
It is. And to me, I mean, obviously, even though I think Gustafsson and John Jones' first fight, I thought it was a great fight. I mean, it could have gone either way. A lot of people think Gustafsson won the fight. You know, whatever. Who cares? I don't know. But I don't want to see it again right now. I'd rather see him fight someone new, like he said. And a lot of people would disagree with me, but I feel like DC deserves a shot. This motherfucker has not lost a heavyweight or light heavyweight fight. He has not lost in the UFC. He has not lost in Strikeforce. Who beat him? You know, this guy's undefeated in each class, and yet Dana's kind of, you know, let's do this. He's stretching out the money. If I was Daniel Cormier, I'd be fucked. I want my belt.
He's waiting. That's what he's done. He's like, I'm done. My next fight's going to be for the title. Oh, and speaking earlier on, we were trying to figure out what's next for Donald Cerrone. He was supposed to fight Khabib Nurmagomedov, and as soon as the fight got announced, the dude got
Say
injured.
That again.
Yeah, Khabib. He got injured like 6 hours after the fight announcement and got hurt.
So it's a wrap.
Yeah, so I to speak to Donald Cerrone, you don't know what's next. So you got Josh, I mean, maybe he fights Gilbert Melendez.
Maybe. Who knows? Who do you have in this one? You got Anthony
I've
Rumble
already
Johnson?
said that 8 times.
Okay, I'm bad. Okay, now
we're going to move on to the main event. He's going to finish him. He's going to put his cream all over him and end it.
Via headbutt? Because if he headbutts the shit out of Nog, that might be the end of his career.
Right.
He's got a pit bull head on him, dude. Anyway, the main thing and the main fight on the main card, obviously, it's being headlined, is Robbie Lawler versus Matt Brown. Now, if there's 2 guys that just, if you're sitting in the octagon across from either one of these guys, you better be ready to roll because they fight. And I mean, this is a great matchup, in my opinion. I'm a huge fan of Robbie Lawler, but I'm also a fan of Matt Brown. Not to quite the extent of Robbie Lawler, but
in Matt Brown's last 7 fights, 6 of them have been finished by TKO or knockout.
He's vicious. Now, I will say this. He is setting himself up. He is I think at one time he was more rounded than Robbie Lawler. Robbie Lawler, since he got in his new camp, is a much improved fighter, and he's living up to his potential now. I kind of see this tough for Matt because Robbie Lawler is a big ass fucking welterweight, and he's got power. And if you're going to sit there and bang with a guy like Robbie Lawler, you could get yourself into trouble. Usually, people who decide to do that, like Johnny Hendricks and stuff, even though Johnny Hendricks got the decision, he got his ass whipped. You know, I mean, it looked like he got beat down. It could end up like that for Matt Brown. I think Matt Brown should try to fight a methodical fight. His camp should come in there and say, okay, we got to try to get Lawler to the ground because Matt Brown is very well rounded. I think that's how he wins this fight. I think if he tries to just slug it out with Robbie Lawler, I think he's going to get the short end of the stick. That's my personal thing, and I'm never wrong, by the way, everybody. I'm just telling you.
I think Matt Brown is going to
stick that shit.
I think Matt Brown's going to stick and fight in this. I think Matt Brown is going to stick and move and stay away from Robbie Lawler. I think he's going to respect his power and pick his shots, and I think he's going to outclass Robbie Lawler. I think the adrenaline tidal wave people crush with Robbie Lawler is about done. I think the redemption story is about over. He made it back to the UFC. He had a nice little push. He was knocking cats out. I think if he doesn't drop Matt Brown, I think this is probably the end for Robbie Lawler, being toward the top of his class, because the welterweight class is just really, really busy. And this is a welterweight elimination fight. So basically the winner of this kind of gets a shot at the belt.
I think this is the exact reason where Robbie Lawler, if I'm in that camp, I'm saying, Robbie, you need to go in there and get shit done because this class is wide open. Just for the reasons that you just said, like Johnny Hendricks has to deal with these upcoming welterweights as well as Robbie Lawler does, and they're gunning for Hendricks because he's the title holder. So I think, you can easily see him losing the title and maybe Lawler getting a shot with somebody else for the title. So I think he's worked this hard to get back to this point. Now, across from him is Matt Brown, who's done the same. You're looking at 2 guys that have basically rejuvenated their careers. So, I mean, they're both kind of they're in the same category right now. But I'm going to go with Lawler, man. I mean, maybe it's because I'm a fan of the guy, but I just think he's going to get it done. I like what I've seen the last 2 years from this guy. It's been really consistent.
Yeah, I think this is the end for Mr. Lawler. As much as I'd like to see him win, don't get me wrong. I'd love to see him come out and absolutely knock the dude out, but I just don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be a great fight. I think the longer it goes, the better it is for Matt Brown, even though Matt Brown hasn't fought into the later rounds. But the one thing you always have to worry about Robbie, if you think you hurt him and you go chasing in after him, that might be laying on the mat with your eyes rolled up in your head.
Yeah, that's true.
That Bama throws bricks. So Matt Brown's got to be cautious. I don't think Matt Brown's going to be super aggressive. On the other side, if I'm Robbie Lawler, I'm going to be super aggressive, and I want to press Matt the whole time.
Right. Well, so that means that there you have it, everybody. I'm going with Lawler. On the other side, you got George going with Brown. Now.